Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Techmon.in. So far in the previous videos we have already covered how to create a splash screen, how to create main menu screen using canvas and all that. Now in previous part we learned how to spawn new objects, and on clicking a empty cell how it will turn into, or in its place we will spawn a cross, and how we are changing turn. Now we clicked on cross. Now it is a second player turn, which is or not, it will spawn not. Now cross, now not. So we have already learned how to do that, right? Now in this video we will going to learn to write win or lose script, and we will show instruction in the instruction whether it is a draw or first player win or second player win. And also as you can see the bar here, if let's say in this diagonal there were three crosses, we will put a bar and show that first player has won. Okay, so let's get started. We will start with game script here. It is the main script we were writing the condition to spawn the objects. So first thing we are going to do is create a game object. uh, so let me write and then I'll explain. All spawns. Okay, so here game object is our data type. Okay, then the square brackets signify that this variable here has data type game object, and it is an array. Array meaning it has more than one values. Okay, so far whichever we created here, cross contained a single object or single value, not single value. This also single value, but this just like for seed, as you can see here, we have three values, right? Three variable in itself, right? So similarly by this, we in a single variable we will be able to keep multiple game object. Okay, so we also have to allocate memory to it. So currently it does not have any memory, it is not referring anywhere. So using new, we will define the size of this array and allocate the memory. So let's see how we do that. So we write new data type, and inside the square bracket we mention the size. Okay, so now it is telling create a array of game object named all spawns, which has size 9. Okay, so what is the purpose of this? To keep track of the empty cells, empty, cross, and not cells. Okay, so currently first we will place all these 9 empty cells in this array, store in that array, and when one for example this empty cell converted into cross or not, we will replace it with cross or not. Okay, so as we know, this game script is attached to camera object. So inside it, okay, we have to create it public to see it outside. Okay, just a second. So as you can see here, we have a variable here. So these variable had single value, and just look at the difference, how they are appearing, and how all spawn, which has 9 values, how it is appearing. So here it is the size of this array, all spawns, and then we have all the 0 to 8 elements. So what we are going to do, we are going to uh, put all these empty cells one by one here. 1 in 1, 2 in 2, and similarly for all of them up to 8. Okay, so the purpose of these are, if we are going to as I told you, we are going to spawn the bars later on, right? So we also need to track of the position where bar has to be spawned, right? So this keeping track of these cells will come in handy there. Okay, now we have stored our the empty objects here, but we also need to modify our script to store a cross or not. So how we are going to do, we are going to pick this variable. So as you may if you remember, we previously had id attached to our empty cell object, right? And let's look at here. So 0 cell has 0 ID and 8 cell has 7 cell has 7, 8 has 8 ID, right? Let me remove the power for now. Okay, so 8 had 8, but we never used it, so now we are going to use it. Let me show you how and why. So first, as you can see here, the array index always start with 0. As you can see here, 0 element, 1 element, so on, right? So what we'll do, once I click on this one middle empty cell, its index will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to replace this fourth element uh, or ID, the empty cell with ID 4 with cross or not, whichever was spawned there. Okay, so this instantiate puts a game object on our screen, but it also returns a game object. Earlier we were not storing the game object returned by this one, but now we are going to store it inside this game object. Okay, so how we will do that, we will simply write not game object, all spawn, our variable name. So we will write all spawn using the index, we using the square bracket, we mention which position to access. So the position of the current empty cell is id, right? Or the cell number or the value is at idth, um, it is idth element in this all spawn array. Okay, so what we are telling, this instantiate returns a game object, we are storing it, this equal to is for assignment, so we are storing it inside all spawns at position id. So if zeroth empty cell with zeroth in id is clicked, it will store it at 0 position, and similarly for 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now that's all, but we need to also make the same change here. Okay, so I'm going to save the script. So yeah, now going to run this. Now what I'll do, I'll click this one. As you can see in camera here, earlier the zeroth element was empty, now it has been replaced with cross. Okay, similarly if I click the fourth one, so as you can see here, it has been replaced with not, and so on. If I click on all the elements, they will be replaced by either cross and not. Okay, now we have the position of these cross and knots. Also, this is just one of the things we are tracking. Similar to this, we also need to track uh, the value, whether it is a cross or not. Okay, these using these seed values. So I'll create public is not required. I will create seed object, again array. Let's call it uh, player. Okay, whether it is a cross or not, and again we will assign it the value seed 9. Okay, so by default, what we will inside our awake function, what we'll do, by default we will assign empty to all of these. Okay, so we'll write a for loop for int I equal to 0, that is to start I from 0, and I less than 9, because we will go from 0 to 8, I plus plus, and then after that, let me, what we'll do, player of ith position assign seed dot empty. Okay, initially these are all empty. We can also ignore these brackets if we have only one statement under for loop or if loop. So I'll just write it like that: to maintain the state of the cell. Okay, let me copy it, put it. So similarly for as you can see here, just like we assign the game object, we'll also assign player at position id, assign it to current turn is, if current turn is seed or whatever the current turn is, right? We assign turn here before changing the turn value. We'll do that. Similarly, we'll do that here. So I'm going to make this as public so that we can look at the results outside. But since we are making this public, we'll also have to make our data type seed public as well. Okay. So let me save the results and let's go back to the game and check the changes and all. Okay, so as you can see in camera object here, we have all spawns, we have player. Player is all empty now, but as I start spawning the object or turning them into cross and not, as you can see here, it is either cross or not, and also these spawns are filled with cross and not. Okay, so we are all set to write our game conditions. So we'll write void is, first we write is draw condition. We'll write is draw and also void is any empty. Okay, then we'll also have one condition. So is any empty, what we are going to do, we'll check whether is there any cell in this player which is empty, basically which is still a empty cell. Okay, so how we are going to do that, we will set int or bool empty equal to false, and okay, empty is false. We will now iterate over our all the cell. Now we will check if player id, just like this, player of I, if player of I equal to seed dot empty, we will write empty equal to true. Okay, and let me put the curly brackets. If we found this condition, we will just break from the loop because we don't need to look any further. Now we will return this empty. Okay, okay, it is void, so that's why. Now since we are returning a bool object, this should be bool. Okay, now we can check if there is any empty, because if there is still any empty cell, we will still continue playing. Okay, so let's win condition here. So we will take an input player. Okay, let me check if player is already there. I can say current player. Okay, play. Yeah, we will be checking which player is currently playing and whether it has won or not. Okay, so we will also be returning a bool type object, which is if won, true, otherwise false, right? So let me also create a bool object here, has won. By default it will be false. Okay, now we will have how let's understand what are the win conditions. So win conditions are like if this let me just run it and show you. If user if these three positions um, are like have cross, then this is a win. If these three or these three, right, these are three rows, then we have three columns, and then we have two diagonals. So in total 3 plus 3 plus 2, we have 8 win condition. Okay, so we are going to write all the possible win conditions. Okay, so let me create an object for that. So I will be creating a 2D object. Okay, 2D array. So as of now, as you can see here on camera, here we created a array which contained only, it was 1D array which contained 9 elements. Now we will consider 2D array. It is like a grid. Okay, like cells in Excel, if you have worked on that, or it is just like a grid, 2D grid, just like we are seeing here. As you can see, in the backend we have small cells, right? Or you can say this board itself, it is a grid with three rows and three columns, right? So we will create a grid of integer type. Okay, let's name it all conditions, win conditions. Basically, just like I mentioned, currently when we create an array, it is just empty. It just has a name and data type. It does not have how many columns or rows or values we want to keep in that. Okay, so now we will create int, assign it a memory. We will we, as I mentioned, we have 8 conditions, 3 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, and each condition, as you can see, is consist is made up of three values, three cells, right? If basically if we have three crosses or knots in successive cells, then it is a win condition, right? So here I will mention all the wins that player had. Okay, so it will be 3. So now how we are defining them? So let me create an array. So first it will be row 1, which is 0. This cell, let me this cell has id 0, as you can see. Then this has 1. Then this has 2. So our first condition will be 0, 1, 2. Okay, similarly for second row we'll have 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and for the last one we will have 6, 7, 8. So this indicate if we have 3 uh, crosses or not. We'll basically, if current player has 3 same values in these 3 cells, 7, 6, 7, 8, it will that player will win. If same is met for 3, 4, 5, that player will win, and so on, right? These are for 3 rows. Now let's write the conditions for 3 columns. So column will be, this is, as you can see here, it is 0 ID, then this is 3 ID, and this is 6 ID. So 0, 3, 6. Similarly, we will have here 1, 4, and 7. Okay, and for last one it will be 2, 5, and 8. Okay, so we have also mentioned that now it is not yet complete. We have only written 6 of the conditions. We still remain have 2 conditions left, which are the diagonal. 1, this is 0 ID, 4, this one, and then this diagonal here, 8. So 0, 4, 8, 0, 4, 8. Okay, then we have the other diagonal, this one, 2, again 4 in the middle, and then we have 6. Okay, so 2, 4, 6. Okay, now we have written all the possible conditions. We can identify. Okay, we'll look at that later. So okay, now we will write uh, script to check conditions. Okay, so we will iterate over these one by one and check if any of them has met or not. Okay, so I will write int I equal to 0 and I will run up to meaning 8 times, right? So we will write less than 9. So we will write less than 9. It will run from 0 to 7, so it will be less than 8. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7. Okay, total 8, and we will write 8 plus I plus plus. Okay, now inside this, for each one of them, we'll see if it has met the condition. So if all conditions of I, basically we are when I is 0 we are picking the first set, if I is 1 we are picking the second set, and so on. Okay, so I of basically all conditions I, we first I is 0 we are picking this set, and inside this set we will pick this value is at 0 position, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, or let's take example of this one. This inside this set, this is at 0 position, this is at 1 position, and this is at second position. Okay, so first I will pick each condition, a set of condition, then inside it we will pick match each cell one by one. So if this equal to current player. Sorry, this is just picking the cell. Okay, now inside players, as you know here, let me go back to the camera. As you know here, when we executed it, we are storing which at which position. As you can see, at 0 position cross is there, at 4th position here not is there, and at the last cell 8th cross is there. Okay, we are storing these value here. So when I do this, it is just picking up for I equal to 0. So for first set, and then for this one it means the inside this first set pick the first value which is 0. So this 0 indicates whether in player list check 0 element or first element or second element, right? So what we'll do, our player, right? I will refer to uh, my player here. Okay, so we are saying when my I is 0, this is 0, we are picking 0 value, and inside player we are checking at looking at 0 value. Okay, if our 0 cell, which is this one in the grid, if it is equal to current player, right? And this is just one condition, and we will write another which I will just copy from here. Inside this first set, we are picking now the second value, which is this one here. Okay, now we are also checking whether it is equal to current player, and similarly for this one. Okay, now we are checking for the second. Okay, and this AND operator here means that all the three conditions should meet. It is a compulsory thing that all three meet. So let's take an example of this. When our I will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When our I will be 7, let's look at how it will work. When I is 7, we are 0 means we are picking up at the first value, which is 2. 2 indicates this cell here. Okay, then when our I is 7, we are picking at first, which is 4, which is this one 4 here, and on player you can see 4 means this one here. Okay, similarly last is 6. Okay, 6 means this cell. Let me click on that 6 cell. Okay, that means in the player we are checking at the 6 element. Okay, when all of these cells here 2, 4, 6 are crosses, let's assume our current player is cross. When all of these are crosses, okay, then we are going to let me write here. We also, when all of these are same, which is cross or current player, we will set has 1 as true, indicating that yes, our player has won, and we will just break out of this loop because we don't need to look at other condition because we have met the condition. Okay, and at the end we will just return this variable has won. Okay, now this is good, has won. On now we have done with is empty. Now we are done with one condition. Now we will write draw. Okay, so how we are going to check draw? We will so when it is draw, either player cross or player 1 has not won, player 2 has not won, and there is no empty cell on the board, then we will call it as a draw. Player 1 won. Okay, player 2 1. Okay, now third one will be any empty. Okay, now let's check each one of them. How will we check for player 1 1? We will just write using this function 1. Okay, now we will pass seed dot cross. As we know, our player 1 is cross. Okay, now I'll be uh, check if player 1 has won or not. Okay, okay, now similarly we will copy paste it here. Now we'll check if our player 2, which is not UGHT, has won or not. Okay, now similarly check if there is any empty cell or not. Okay, now we will store it in this. How we will check? We have already written the script for is any empty. We are going to go and just like that. Okay, now we have checked and got the responses for all these three variable. Now we will create a bool flag again, is draw. Okay, I will store it as false. Okay, now we'll check if player 1, if player has won, then there is no draw, so our player 1 should be false, meaning that it has not won. Then our similarly our player 2 should be player 2 1 should also be false, because if the player 2 1 wins, it will be not called as draw. Also any empty, there should be uh, there should be no empty cell on the game. Okay, let me write it this way because it is more readable that way. So when all these three conditions are false, okay, we will set is draw as true, small t, true. Okay, now let me, because there is only one statement, I will just remove the bracket and I will return the is draw variable. Okay, currently it is set as void, but we need to set it as bool because we are returning a bool type. Okay, now we have set these conditions. Now let's apply these one by one. So here, if you remember correctly from the previous videos, here we were when a cross player or first player clicks on empty cell, we were spawning a cross, and then we were changing the turn to not. But before this we will check if won. Okay, who won? Turn. turn, either we can directly pass, cross as well, but we will go with turn. We will check whether this player has won or not. If it has won, we will do something here. Otherwise, if this player has not won, we will proceed with this statement. Okay, this statement means we will change the turn to not player. Okay, now if the player has won, what we'll do, we will change the instruction here, and here we will write player 1 has won. Okay, similar to this, we will do for our not or second player. Okay, if it has won, we will write player 2 has won. Okay, and in our else condition, if that is not the case, we will change the turn to cross here and do nothing, right? But there could be a third scenario as well. When player 1 has not won, player 2 has not won, the third option here out of it will be if is uh, I capital is draw. Okay, if either of the player has won. So if that is the case, what we'll do, we will do two things. First, let me copy this. Now there is since it is a draw, so there is no empty cell, there is no turn of any player. We will just set it to empty, indicating that next turn is neither of cross nor of or not. Okay, and we will also change the instruction, which is it is a draw. Okay, we will just mention it. Now let's see the results here. Let's go back to the game. So as you can see, cross not, and as you can see, when our player 1 has won, we are showing that our player 1 has won. Okay, let me run it again. Let's check for diagonal condition and for player 2. Okay, and just random cross and not here. Player 2 has won, and now we have the diagonal here, right? But we can still spawn these. So we'll click on those empty cell, and they are still spawning things, right? Let me quickly show you again, just a second. Okay, now we can click on these, which should not be the case. So just like for the draw, as you can see, we set it as empty. We will just copy it, and if our player has won, we will also set it as empty, so this won't be spawned. Okay, so let me save it. Oh, it is saved. Let's go back to the game and check it. Okay, so cross, okay, our player 1 has won, and as you can see, we are no longer spawning any object. Okay, now as a next step, what we are going to do, we are going to, if our player has won, let me bring it in front to change its. Okay, so if our player, like if this second column, there were 3 crosses, right? Now we will also spawn a bar like that. Okay, and if that is not the case, let's say if the player won on this axis, diagonal axis, then we'll place the bar there, and so on. Okay, so now how will we control the bar or direction of the bar? We are not going to create bar for every state, like tilted, straight, and vertical or horizontal. Not all of them. We will use this rotation object, and we will, like, if I want to spawn tilt it at 45 degree, I will do that. If I have to 90 degree, meaning I need a horizontal line, I'll do that. Now if I need vertical, I will keep it like that. Now I need at the diagonal, I will change rotation parameter to calculate it. Okay, now we have this bar. Let's create a prefab because we are going to spawn it using scripts. So I'm going to pull it here. Now my prefab is ready. I'm going to delete this bar. So as you know here, for every line, we have two parameters, the starting parameter or and ending position. Basically a line is represented by 2 points. Okay, so but in our case, what we'll do, we'll keep track of, for example, we are doing the crosses at diagonal 1. Okay, we'll keep track of first cell and the third cell. Okay, and then to spawn this object, we will calculate the middle point using these 2 points and spawn our object there. So let's start it, and that way we'll get clarity. So when we are calculating a position, we'll return a vector. So vector 2 is the return type. 2 means there are 2 elements. Okay, vector 1 means like single element, vector 3 means 3 elements, and so on. Okay, calculate center. Okay, before that, let me write down the function we are going to calculate. One is calculate center, another will be integer type, or calculate slope. Okay, what do you mean? What do we mean by slope? As I mentioned, we will okay, let's ignore the error. Right now we are not returning anything, that's why it is showing it here. So as I mentioned, we slope means how much we are going to tilt it. Is it by 45 or is it by 90 and so on. Okay, so we are going to keep track of that or calculate that using the script. We are not going to pass it manually this time. Okay, now that are the two function, but as I mentioned, we need to keep track of the first and last element. Okay, so we are going to create two here to track the first and last cells of the winning row or column or diagonal. Okay, so we are going to keep track using a vector 2 of position 1 and let's say position 2. Okay, these will be the first and last cell. Now here only, since we are tracking win conditions here, we will store the winning positions. How we'll do that? Not here, in the place where we are checking. Here we are checking the winning conditions, right? So here only we will keep track of pos 1. Okay, what will be, how we'll calculate pos 1? So as you know, this part here, look, all conditions, uh, let's say I is 0, 0, 0 indicates this is the first cell, and I, assuming I is 0, 0 of 2, 0, 1, 2 means second cell, right? So that is how. Okay, so this will give us the second cell. Now this is just going to give us the cell number, just like we picked the current player or at particular cell which player has clicked, like whether it is cross or not, right? We will similarly use this all spawn, right? Here we were storing the game object of either cross or not, right? And as I mentioned before, each game object has a position, right? That is XYZ coordinates and the rotation. So for each cell we are going to store its or fetch its this position transform dot position. Okay, so we'll use this object. So similar as similar to here, we got the player, right? Instead of player, now I will be referring to the all spawns which have cross not cells or empty game objects. I will use this condition 0 for first position, access the positions using transform dot position and store it in pos1. Similarly, I'll do it for this is 0 position or first position, this is second, this is third, first, second, third, first, second, third, right? So I'll also for position 2, which is the third position basically. For position 2, I'll refer it using pos2. Okay, now we have what we required to spawn a bar like this. Okay, I need a starting position and the third position or ending position. Okay, now I have kept track, keep track of the winning positions to spawn a bar. Okay, now we have pos1, pos2, which are the vector of xyz, right? Now we will calculate our new x coordinate, which will be nothing but pos1 dot x coordinate plus pos2 dot x coordinate, sum of these and dividing them by 2. Okay, this will give me the x coordinate, new x coordinate. So it is like middle of these two positions, like here. Let me change the size. I think it is too large, so 2.2 should work. Okay, so when I select prefab and change any setting, these get automatically saved on this prefab. But if I click on this bar here, which is not a prefab but initialized or instantiated game object, if I make any change here 2.5, this will not reflect here. Okay, so I made the change on prefab directly. Okay, so we are now calculating the middle position. Similarly, we will do for y pos1 dot y plus pos2 dot y and dividing it by 2. So this will give us the middle position. I will just return this since we are returning a vector. We have to create we are my bad, we are required to create a vector, and new vector, as I mentioned, new game object or vector are always created using new object. Now we will create a vector 2, and inside that we will mention xy values. Okay, this is how we calculated our middle position. Now to calculate the slope. Okay, just as let's observe it. My bad. Let's observe how what is happening. As you can see, my xyz position of these let's look at y position of these cells, right? And this is the position, x position and y position. So for a column, as you can see, my x position will remain same. My x is this one, the horizontal, and y is vertical, right? So as you can see, for a particular column, my x remains same. Okay, 2.5 here, 2.5 here, 2.5 here, and similarly 2.5 to negative of 2.5 and negative of 2.5. Okay, so if let's slope, if our pos1 dot x is equal to pos2 dot x, then we don't need to it represents a vertical bar and we don't need to change its rotation. Okay, we will just return set a slope as 0 point, let's just 0, or let's make it a float in scenario where we need to rotate by some degrees. Okay, let's observe for now rows. So as you can see here, my y remains same. Okay, similarly let's look at for it, minus 1.58, minus 1.58, minus 1.58. So if our pos1 dot y equal to pos1 pos2 dot y, then what we are going to do, this inner condition row wise is for horizontal line, and currently the bar prefab bar is in vertical, it is in vertical position, right? So we need to move it, rotate it by 90 degree to make it like that. So what we'll do, we will set slope as 90.0 f for float. Okay, that is two conditions down. And if we had this as you can see, this cell is, you know, positive for this diagonal, this and this. Okay, so x is positive here, while the pos 1x is positive while pos 2x is negative, and here it is opposite, right? So we will just write the other condition, else if if pos 1 dot x greater than 0.0 f, then slope, okay, my bad, it is e is missing here, slope is that means a negative of 45. Okay, let me show you how negative of 45. Here negative of 45. Okay, because origin currently is y-axis. Okay, so our slope will be negative 45.0 f. Okay, then our last condition is slope is 45.0 f. Okay, now we will just simply return this slope. Now we have our new coordinates or position, we have our slope. Now we are going to instantiate our bar. And how we'll do that, where we'll do that, when our player has won for these two condition. Okay, so when our play let me one more thing, just like for cross and knot, I have already written bar here. Okay, so we will refer to bar here. Let's go to let's delete this. Let's go to our camera, and as you can see our bar is currently empty. I will drag it and place it here, bar. Okay, now we have cross, knot and bar. Okay, now we have bar here. So let's go to this win condition, spawn bar. Okay, now how will we do, using instantiate? First is the game object bar. Okay, second is the position. So this function here which we just written, calculate center, returns the position. So I'll be using this. Okay, and the last one is the uh, you know how much rotation do we have to apply. Okay, so for that let's create slope variable and calculate slope. This will return us the slope. And as you know, when we had to may apply no rotation, 0 0 0, all the three coordinate axes, we use quaternion dot identity. But now when we have to apply a rotation, then we apply using quaternion dot Euler. There is a function. Okay, so it also has three axes. Zero, first one is axis, second is y, and third one is z. As you saw here, we are not changing our x or y, we are changing our z coordinate. Okay, and y and x and y remains 0. So that's what we are going to do. 0 0, and third one will be our slope which we calculated. Okay, okay, this is how we are going to spawn the bar. Similarly, we are going for knot. I've saved the results now. In line 20, 193, 190. Okay, I missed the semicolon here. Okay, now it is done. Okay, in line 178. Okay, reasoning. This should be float. Okay. 196 somewhere else as well. 196. Okay, we also marked it as we are returning int while we are returning a float object. Okay, float. Okay, now I think it's good. Let's clear the warnings. Okay, now let's I think when our let's check the conditions here. I'll instead of this when post1 is positive and this is negative. Okay, so let's write both the condition and post2 dot x is less than 0.0 f, then this. Okay, the reason was not this, so I forgot to write else condition here. Okay, this slope should be in else. So what happened when we did not I did not write else here? What happened? So this was the earlier code. Even if it calculated the slope using these condition, it was setting it as 45 because the else condition was missing. Okay, let's run it now. Now what? 192, 192. Okay, a left from it. Okay, so now it should work just fine. Okay, now you can see a bar is in the background, so we have to order it at the top. Okay, now let's run it again. Let's create a diagonal. Okay, as you can see, now let's create the other diagonal with not this time. Oh, my bad. So let's test the vertical one here. Now the other diagonal. Okay, cross here, not here. Okay, now we have all the conditions set. Now we have written how to write the win condition, how to spawn bars. Uh, so in this is all for this video. In next video we will learn how to write the AI script, so we can, let me save it first. Scene here, as I mentioned earlier, we we will also create a player versus CPU, in which we will learn how to create AI script versus CPU. Okay, and we'll also do a few cleanups. By cleanups I mean, as you can see, if I play this game once, okay, we never wrote a draw condition, right? Okay, my bad. Hopefully I don't win this. Okay, so it's a draw and no bar has been spawned. Okay, so what we'll do, as you can see, now we have written the we have completed one game, it is a draw. we are not showing any play again option or something else, right? We'll also work on that, how to spawn a, or how to show a play again button and it refreshes the current screen. Okay, so that's all for now. Hope you are enjoying the work. Hope you are learning from these videos. Please do subscribe to my channel, and also like the videos which were helpful to you. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.